But now, let's give you all the news when it comes to finances, how things are changing quite quickly in terms of the kind of money we might be able to save in the next few weeks and months. Joining me is Roger Gewald, finance expert. Good evening to you, Roger.
Good evening.
Good to have you with us again.
Thank you.
Let's start with, my goodness, some good news. So, at the last budget, and actually, before and after, Jeremy Hunt, our Chancellor, said that, that will be the end. The help and support that we saw, well, gosh, I'm losing track. I think it was when Rishi Sunak was Chancellor, and then when Kwasi Kwarteng was Chancellor, that was all coming to an end. However, there was a bit of a U-turn on that.
There was, and he extended it, and now it ends in April. And surprisingly, he hasn't said what everybody is pretty sure he's going to do, which is extend it further, because he can't just dump that all on us when energy prices are falling. And because of that, the government actually has an extra 15 billion pounds that they didn't count on having. So I mean, I really think it behooves him to extend at least another 3 months the energy relief to help families.
Do we know much details about how that will look? Who'll be entitled to that, or is that just still waiting to hear from the Chancellor on that?
Like everything else from Rishi Rich and Smug Jezza, it's in the wind. We don't know. I mean, the only thing that we know is that the situation is still pretty dire. And of course, both parties, all of our politicians, their solution to me seems to have been to turn off the light at the end of the tunnel. So we don't know what it's going to look like. It will be announced. He hasn't even announced for sure that he's going to extend it, so he's certainly not given details.
Yeah. Well, what is going on with energy prices? You say they're coming down?
They're coming down.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I think it's been about 2 years since I've heard those words when it comes to energy prices.
They're coming down, as everyone knew they naturally would. And the real puzzling thing is that the government still hasn't uncoupled. I talk about this so much that it's boring even to me. They haven't uncoupled the price of electricity from gas.
Yes.
So gas is far more expensive. Today, at this very moment, these lights in this studio are being, according to the National Grid's live website, produced, this electricity, 56% only by gas. And on some days, it's as low as 20%. And yet our electricity prices are totally tied 100% to the gas price, which of course is manipulated by Putin whenever he can. And the experts estimate that if they were to decouple them, as successive governments have been told for decades, we would save £1,500 per home.
But okay, that's a separate issue. Why our prices are coming down though? Why is that? Because let's be honest, they were going up before the war in Ukraine, and then that happened, and things went up even more so. So why are things coming down?
Well, probably it's a major function of the fact that electricity energy companies buy in advance. So they were stuck with more expensive, the prices moved. Now they're able to start using some of the, cheaper energy sources. But it's really the energy companies that are raking in money. The experts say that we have spent £7.2 billion more in electricity costs that we didn't need to spend because of this obsolete structure.
Unbelievable. I mean, we've seen the figures when it comes to profits.
Yeah.
A place like Shell, BP, and Centrica made last year. But yes, okay. So this is some positive news. Energy bills could be coming down, and not only that, there will be the support that some people have been getting could potentially continue. Hopefully, we'll find out maybe in the spring budget. Well, actually, hopefully before then. But yes, we're getting details of when the spring budget will be. And what do you think the Chancellor will focus on there?
I think he'll focus on helping the elderly, helping people who are older and people who are disabled get back to work. That's nothing he's doing for us. That's him getting some more labor to help him. And I think he will probably he'll probably kill off most of the good he does. I'm sorry I'm such a skeptic, blame my folks. But he's going to kill it all by raising corporation tax from 19% to 25%, which of course will simply make companies increase the prices of their goods and services to us. Just absolutely bonkers to do that at a time like this.
There are lots of people saying, particularly when you look at some companies' profits, then actually there's an argument to increase how much tax they pay.
Some companies, yes.
Some.
But, 90-some% of British companies are smaller businesses. They're not making huge sums of money. And this is, it's graduated, but it's still going to hit people very, very hard. I mean, I haven't come across one single person who advises that this is a good time to cut corporation tax.
Really?
And meantime, the stories that one is hearing and seeing
we say Labour would want the corporation tax to increase. In fact, maybe probably more.
Absolutely. I mean, Labour offers no valid alternative to these things. They just stand by and let the Tories put their foot in their mouth as regularly as possible, but they don't offer anything that would be a better solution. And you're right, they probably would come up with something that it's all so calculated, it's all so political. The Boris thing you mentioned, isn't it interesting that Sue Gray is now going to be chief of staff? I mean, honestly, is there a connection there? Duh. It's all so silly.
It's not a good look.
It's not a good look. It's not a good look. I mean, the government and Labour both have a solution to our energy problem, which is called gaslighting. It's just. I'm really unhappy. I'm really unhappy about all of it, but. Raising corporation tax, telling people to get back to work, and then extending the energy for 3 months is not exactly a dynamic budget.
And not great news when it comes to stamps. I mean, Roger, I don't know how long you've been living in the UK for. When I was a kid, a first-class stamp, I remember it being about 20p.
Yeah. It's
not that anymore, and it's going up.
Well, I mean, I've been here a long time. I've been here several decades. It's going up 15p to £1.10, and second class is going up 7p to 75p. And that's not a lot of money in the scheme of things.
No, second class is going to be 95.
Sorry, 95p. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember it was 15 pence.
But it's not going to be delivered anyway, so what's the point? I mean, between the strikes...
I don't know how often people use post.
Well, it's fallen 25% since the pandemic.
So much money,
which has given the post office, which of course is now a private company, a loss. They're carrying a loss of 450 million quid. So, but really, with all the strikes and the poor service, is that really the right time to raise the price? I am pleased that King Charles is going to be on it. I am pleased with what people say, that there's no crown, there's no scepter. It's a very humble kind of a portrait that says, hey, I'm here to serve you. It's really nice. It's the first time that a new monarch has appeared on a stamp since 1953.
Wow.
So it's to be celebrated.
Wow.
But the price rise with all the strikes and the rest just doesn't make a lot of sense.
All the strikes, cost of living crisis, even though energy prices are coming down, it's still going to be, they're still quite hefty.
Yeah.
And Citizens Advice, the charity that supports people on low income and in debt, they've really criticised.
They've come out very strong against it. I wish instead of worrying about 10p on a piece of paper that you lick, they'd come out and say something about decoupling energy and saving each one of us 1,500 quid.
Well, they're doing a lot when it comes to those prepayment meters. But yeah, indeed, there's just so many areas that we could be focusing on saving money. You're right, maybe a 15p increase in the stamp that we very rarely use is going to make much of a difference. But hey, Roger, always a pleasure. Yes, always a pleasure talking to you and getting up to date on all the finance news. Let's get a call, shall we?